most I've ever been was last year. That was ridiculous. It was like every week I was there at least. Alrighty, alrighty. So, um, I guess what we should start talking about is just checking to make sure the stream's up and running. And most I've ever been was last year. Yeah, that was ridiculous. It was like every week. Wow, it's really weird watching yourself play. All right. Yeah, Owen, you're talking about the spending more nights at the event.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I mean, I just started going to the event in 2012, and I'm already starting to go every single night that I'm in town for that 2 weeks.
Yeah. I don't know, and maybe John can back me up on it is. I've just been the past 2 years of 2023 and now this past year of 24, really fatigued with the last 3 or 4 weeks of the event where it's just been super crowded and every house is a 2-hour wait, and I'm honestly just thinking about maybe doing the big upgrade for the 3-week pass or whatever this year, especially if I end up having to move to Tampa.
Well, we're looking at the possibility of me doing Rush of Fear and then just upgrading to the Frequent Fear Plus pass.
For the last week?
Yep.
Yeah. What about you, John?
I really would like for them to release a Frequent Fear Plus with Saturdays available.
Yes.
Because
every other day sucks.
Because that would be awesome. It'll be worth more than money too, because I mean, yeah, Friday's great, but for me, at least I can't go during the week because I have school and whatnot. And I don't live in Orlando.
Does anyone else feel now that everyone's saying you know how it used to be Thursday was the day to go, if you didn't want to hit big lines, was every Thursday I went, it got super crowded, and then it's as soon as throughout the week, it dissipated from Thursday and Friday were huge, and then everyone said, oh, it's empty on Saturday. There was nobody here. I had that happen 2 times, and I was maybe upset. I want to say it was one of the first couple Saturdays. Someone told me that.
Yeah, it gets really crowded. It's in October especially. It's dang.
So I think the thing that obviously that anybody wants to see us talking about, and what we want to talk about is the IPs that are coming. So I'm going to kind of write down some stuff about some subjects, but I think one that we obviously need to talk about is the possibility of The Walking Dead coming back in the slightest at all. I know the big rumor is now that it may or may not. And do we actually believe that that's actually going to be a real thing? Is it not going to come back? Because remember last year we talked about, a lot of us speculated, and specifically Neil, UKHSN, shout out to him, that it was not going to come back, that it was not coming to Orlando, that was not going to be a thing. And we all had a pretty big surprise in June, the first thing getting released. And I remember messaging you in the morning saying Halloween got released, and you got really mad.
Your text woke me up. I'm like, oh, what the hell? Halloween? Some piece of crap. And then I went on, and then, oh, Walking Dead. Are you serious?
Yeah.
All right, whatever.
So, what are you guys' thoughts on that? Especially now, because John, me and you are watching the 5th season of what it would be based on. I know, Owen, you don't really watch the show, but you've been in the past 2 houses, so.
Well, so far this season, there are quite a lot of several locations that they can use, the hospital where Beth was at. They can use. They can start off at Terminus, and then leave, and then go into one of houses, and then eventually the church, and that library where, I don't know if it was a library, but it was You know where the it was like a big hole in the middle, and then it was like
The
filled
food
with
bank.
water at the
The
bottom.
food.
Yeah,
That's what I'm talking about.
they can do that. Um, yeah, there's lots of places that they can do, which will be pretty cool. Um, as for yeah, actually, yeah, that's pretty much it so far.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, I think the thing is like it's starting to get away now from newer locations. A lot of the stuff's starting to blend, and like I think the thing like Mike and a lot of even Murdy has said is The Walking Dead each season's provided newer and newer environments for us to use, and it seems like this season, like I think it's one of the better seasons that we've had of the show. But
oh
as
yeah,
far as for locations for houses and new things, everything would feel like it's already been kind of seen or forced to an extent. We've already had a hospital in the first house. We've
sure.
already had parts of Terminus now in the house we just had last year.
Mhm.
The stuff with the food bank is going to feel like it was exactly in the supermarket to an extent. You know, a lot of these key big scenes, with the exception, I think, of last night, I think when the, spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't watched it, but, you know, the thing where they run into the other truck and the stuff comes flying out.
Oh yeah, that was nasty, dude.
Yeah. Besides, like, the exception of, like, those, I think, like, we're kind of more limited now on what we can and can't see that's brand new in the house. That's just my opinion, but and I think it's worth noting that if we notice it, that they definitely notice it, and it's a deciding factor on whether they will or will not use the house.
Right. Um,
Um, yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just taking a breath.
Oh, okay. As for the possibility of it coming back this year, so far I've been saying yes, that I do think it will return. But I've been thinking about it too since it's complicated because, yeah, it's the big 25th anniversary. And there's been talks of like, oh, what if, maybe Universal will give it a break this year, and then come back to it later. Uh, I really don't know.
Yeah, that's a good determining factor. So, um, but the thing is that the 25th anniversary of it, be interesting is that it's supposed to be big rumors just combining things of the present and the past. Walking Dead's been one of the biggest presents out of the event for the past 4 years, or 3 years to an extent. If it comes back again, so to an extent it almost feels cheated if they didn't do it, but at the same time it does feel cheap that that's something that's already had such a major presence at the event will take another major presence again. That's just me.
And that's my worry too, because if they're going with an anniversary theme and they want to promote the themes and the stories and the characters from Halloween Heights past, the story of the event, how is that gonna play well with if they're gonna promote the hell out of The Walking Dead?
That's the catch-22. I think
That's
of.
the thing there. I don't know.
That's ultimately, I think, and you guys can agree with me or not, but like the difference between a marketing campaign for an event and a celebration for the event. The past probably the past 3 years, from 2000, I think 2012 was our big moment of recognition of a turning point in our Orlando event. That being promotion central, like obviously IP houses listed in front of the gates, and the TV commercials are all about the certain IPs that are coming, specifically The Walking Dead. If I'm losing my train of thought here, but kind of like, wow, I'm sorry guys, I just totally missed what I was talking about. I don't know, just talking about like. Just keep going on. Just forget what I was just saying. Because I just lost, and now it's gone. And it's going to come to me in a few minutes.
Celebration.
Yeah.
You're saying a celebration of the event and the marketing.
Yeah,
right?
like I think that's ultimately like the thing. Like, are we going to celebrate the past and like what we did, and like maybe some of the smaller IPs or past IPs that were coming? Like I think a lot of people saying is like, oh, but we've already had the new line, the big three. But that was 7, almost 8 years ago now. It's
Right.
been enough time. I've only been going to 4 years. I mean, I didn't get to see that. There's a lot of people that are now currently going that didn't experience that, and so bringing it back to an extent, besides the one, maybe only a percentage of the 1%ers now didn't see that. So it's
Right.
gonna be like, are you gonna? What are you trying to market here? Are you marketing a celebration of the event? Or are you marketing for marketing's sake? That's what I was trying to say. Thank you, John.
All right. I mean, it's difficult. I mean, I guess what something that they can do is that yes, they can do something like what they did in 2007 or 2009, where they presented this original idea, and that was kind of like the theme of it. But they also introduced and promoted the IPs.
Hmm.
2009, yeah, they had the Usher and the Universal Palace Theater, the movie theme, but they also, they introduced Saw and the Wolfman and
Yeah.
Chucky. So those were the frontliners
Yeah.
behind the backstory. So they can do something like that. Or
Yeah.
2007.
I definitely agree. I think 2007, 2009 are two biggest examples of originality and promotion as far as IPs are concerned.
Hmm.
The best mix that they've ever done.
Right.
To an extent, like, I mean, you look at both those years, each of those years realistically featured 5 IPs. With 2007, The New Line 3, and The Thing, and what was it? Dead Silence
Hmm.
were all featured, and as well as what was 2009, it was Dracula, the Wolfman. But even like Silver Screams was like a collage of horror movies, and
Right. Yeah.
you had Chucky and Saw, and it was really IP heavy, but they spun it in a way that it felt original. Although I feel like in 2009 maybe they got the Usher's character got shortchanged a little more than like Jack's did in 2007. He wasn't really a presence in the promotion until he got to the park. But I didn't go, so that would be the question for
Yeah.
you to answer.
In 2009, from what I remember, and from still, if you go to hornates.be, like you can see the collection of like the Path website and
Mhm.
all that stuff. The Usher was kind of like in the background. All was really promoted was Saw, Chucky, and the Wolfman, but he was in the
Yeah.
background. With Jack in '07, he was
Forefront
he was
running.
frontline
Yeah.
as well as in with the big three.
Yeah.
So he was like the fourth person in the group.
That
So
is actually a really good analogy for it. He was kind of like the missing Michael Myers of the group.
right, yeah. Um,
So
I'm thinking that they might do something like that again this year. Have Jack present the IPs, and then uh, yeah, something like that. I don't know.
and that brings us to the next big topic of bringing back. Obviously, if and Owen, I want you to definitely chime in on this because your video I listened to last
Yeah,
night. You had some specific views on the usage of our next topic, the New Line 3, more specifically, somewhat of a repeat of the Carnival of Carnage, because we know the Jack is back. Like
Yeah.
that's there's nothing like we have no hints realistically besides inside the Walking Dead as to like the other big front runners, the other big characters of Horror Nights, the other people, whatever. I don't know why I can't say their proper name. John, please save me. Um,
wait, what?
what do we the icons? My bad. The only hints that we had to
Oh,
the icons were inside, the Walking Dead house, but specifically Jack was seen everywhere.
right.
So what are our thoughts on specifically a repeat of the Carnival of Carnage and the bringing back of the New Line 3? I think honestly, if you're gonna ditch the Walking Dead, if that's what is Orlando's perception, you've got to look at one of your most successful years as far as characters wise, and then bring it to new things to make it even more successful, which would be, to me, and it's a little off topic, but I'm just going to say what the other two. If the New Line 3 are the thing and Walking Dead is out, then you bring in like American Horror Story or Insidious or Scream, and that's just as powerful as of a punch as The Walking Dead would have promotionally, wise, and maybe a little more manageable for Jack to handle. But what are your guys' thoughts on the Carnival of Carnage kind of returning in some way, shape, or form?
Owen, you want to talk about that?
I think because Owen, you have the strongest views kind of against that.
Well, it's not that I'm against it. It's just the fact that I think 7 years is still too soon.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. And if we're going to admit that we're going to need the New Line 3 to come back, there has to be something fresh and new to be able to do with them.
Mm.
And I've been trying to call this Freddy versus Jason house since November, and I know it's an idea that's legitimate right now, but the red tape, it may be insurmountable at this point.
I know that's what they talked about, is that doing at first J House was kind of the attempt. I think I heard someone talking about that. They were planning on doing it where they were hinting at it in the houses of each of Freddy and Jason, having one of them in there.
Yeah,
towards the end of the houses, and then leading towards having it being at like 2008 or something like that, having its own house. And they didn't want anything to do because they thought it would hint at another movie.
You've got to do something original, and I don't think that doing another Nightmare House or another Friday House or another Texas Chainsaw House is going to be anything original. You have to do something fresh.
Well, I think like the thing is like, in my opinion, especially with TCM specifically, is that the house is based on the remake, the two remakes, the beginning and then the New Line one. Obviously, we've seen a big trend of them doing the classic horror movie houses.
Yeah.
As of lately, there's still the option of, specifically with that property, to base it solely on the original film. To me, that's the strongest opinion I would have towards that property. Now, as far as Freddy and Jason are concerned, that's always going to be, their houses were kind of like collab houses of all their greatest scenes. They weren't really based on a movie per se. In fact, wasn't Freddy's house kind of based on an original concept that they came up with, and they just took his best of and threw it in there?
That works.
Mistaken. Yeah.
It was a combination of the different films in the franchise.
Mm-hmm.
Like the first one and third one, second one, whatever. Like they had the scene with the bedroom, and then you have to go through the bed. That was from the first one when Johnny Depp gets killed.
Yeah.
The boiler room and all that stuff. So as for Friday the 13th, I don't really know. I think it was just like.
I was just like used to the character to an extent.
Yeah, and they did rooms and put Jason in there, and that's it. I don't know. But yeah.
And it's kind of hard if you watch any of the Friday the 13th movies, and I think this might be a good point for you, Owen, is that the original movie, Jason doesn't make an appearance till the last 5 seconds, like, of the movie.
Yeah.
So you can't really do a house just based on, like, go back to the original. Obviously with NOES, like Nightmare on Elm Street or Texas Chainsaw, you can go back to the original film and do a straight-up just mock-up house like how you did with Halloween and how you did with American Werewolf, and do that. You could do that, but with Friday the 13th, it's weird because there's not really one movie you could pick. I mean, they're all kind of cheesy and cornball to an extent, not to be offensive to the franchise, but there's, you can't go to the original film and be like, this is the movie we're going to do them on, unless you base it on, like, what was it, the most popular one, like number 5 or 6 or something like that? Where he finally makes the appearance with the hockey mask for sure or something, I don't know.
Yes, something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, what I think they can do if they want to bring back Freddy, Jason, Leatherface, 2 of them or 1 of them or whatever, yeah, they're obviously gonna have to do things that they did in the past, like in the other houses.
Mm.
But it can create different scenes where they weren't in the past houses. They can
Mm.
take other things from other scenes of the films that they didn't include, and then they can finally include them in the new mazes. So
Mm.
I mean, again, it's the point of wanting to bring them back is to uh,
Honor the
celebrate
past, yeah.
the 25th anniversary. So, and they were integral parts of it. So, and knowing how the classic horror films have been like a big success recently with Werewolf in London and Halloween last year, they're probably looking into like, hey, wow, Halloween was
Expand.
such a big success and Werewolf in London was amazing. We should definitely think of at least bringing. Let's see if we can bring uh, those past characters back, and people would go for it full
Hard.
blown.
They
Because
go for really
Freddy and
hard.
Jason, man, like Leatherface, they're big. One of the three of the biggest horror icons out there ever.
You don't need to explain anything about them. They're just known.
Yeah. So
They're ingrained. So
yeah.
I would agree.
Like if you're not even a horror fan, if you like are into scary movies or something like
Or
that,
movies in general.
occasional, you might have heard from them. Even if you're not a horror fan, you might have heard of them. So
Yeah.
they're that big. So
They're probably easily the biggest pop culture horror things besides the classic Universal monsters.
right.
I mean, realistically,
Mm-hmm.
no matter how many viewers The Walking Dead or whatever has, they're timeless now.
Exactly.
So I think that's a good talk that we just had about those characters. So obviously it'll be a toss up to see if they do or do not come. The supporting evidence shows that they are considering them. Is
Mhm.
that last couple surveys, their big presence is listed on there,
Mm-hmm.
and I can imagine that a lot of people would vote for them over The Walking Dead or Insidious or anything like that, big time.
We've been hinting to Nightmare coming back since 23.
Yeah, a long time.
Probably
Very long
before that.
I know. Well, yeah. What was it this past year? The Don't Sleep thing.
Yep.
The jacket being inside Halloween's house. Elm Street being used inside Resident Evil. Yeah. And I think there's even something else. I think there was something in Silent Hill that was a reference to it as well. I can't remember what it was, but I remember seeing something in there.
Freddy?
Yeah, I remember there was something in there. I thought it was like his hand or something like that. I can't remember what it was. I could be totally wrong. But I remember there being some kind of a hint towards him in 2012. I can't remember what it was. So.
It was in Dead End. The sweater was in there.
That's right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, I don't think that. I mean, it might be, but since they've done those things for several years now, I think they're just there. Like they put them in there just to, like decoration,
Mm-hmm.
with the intent also of having it as like an Easter egg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not necessarily hinting at like, oh, they're coming next year.
Well, I think that's always what the case is, because wasn't Silent Hill's theme played in 2011 in
It was.
one of those scare zones? But there was no way at the time during the event that wasn't our Silent Hill maze was the replacement for American Werewolf from London. Like that wasn't originally intended, but it ended up working out. So, but cool. So let's now we talked about that. Let's talk about the other big presence that was on that survey besides 3 and The Walking Dead, and that's American Horror Story. I would call the new up and comer, becoming more popular. What do you guys think about that, specifically the new season being implemented at the event if Walking Dead is not coming? Because I don't think there's any way that you can have both. Be realistic.
I don't think they would want both at the event.
No.
Too much turmoil.
I think that's probably the reason why it's been kept away also is with The Walking Dead's major presence. I don't think they want to be short-casted, being a lesser. So, I don't know, what do you guys think? I mean, did anyone else besides me watch the entire show?
Yeah, I did.
What'd you think?
I thought it was great. I really liked this past season, and lots of characters that they can use, like a lot. So that'll be really cool to see in there. See those characters in animes. Um, I hope it comes. Honestly, I really do. I really would like to see a house on that property and explore scenes from all of the seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but yeah, I don't know. With Walking Dead, it's a little complicated. Um, I mean, they did have Walking Dead and Dust Till Dawn last year, but Dust Till Dawn is considerably,
And more people
not
are
as right.
they're more recognized as the movie than the show,
Yeah.
Right.
even
So
though
it's
it's mentioned.
very popular as Walking Dead,
Hmm.
but yeah, American Horror Story is up there. It's definitely more popular than the TV show of Dust Till Dawn.
Mm.
But
Well, the interesting thing is that when The Walking Dead first came to Howling Horror Nights, I think Horror Nights kind of has helped build that show. Like, it is some extreme promotion to a lot of people that may not be aware of it, and a lot of people that are aware of it. It's it's been a win-win situation for both the event and the show. Because I know a bunch of people that I've talked to oh, I never watched the show until season 3 when I went to the house at Horror Nights and then I started watching. I think a lot of people have done that. Just as many, if not more, than people that have shown up just for that one thing. But it is also a big presence. But I think the interesting thing with American Horror Story is that you do have an opportunity to do kind of the same thing, where in the house you can base it all in the freak show kind of thing, but you could throw in characters from all of the seasons, and it wouldn't feel completely out of place to see a character like the bloody face character or the latex guy randomly appearing or coming out, or the Minotaur or something like that, because they all kind of fall under this umbrella of freak characters. Plus, it would also be a good opportunity for them to bring back the freaks and the weirdos in the scare zone kind of thing, the rat lady and the snake guy or whatever, all having them out front and performing in front of this area that you could have as the freak show entrance. If for some reason Kid Zone doesn't get taken down and they put American Horror Story in the parade building, just pure speculation, you could use that circle area as platforms and stuff like that to have all that in. Plus, if they put, Owen, like you said, a Jack show and animal actors, it's all right there.
I've been thinking American Horror Story was custom made for the parade building since day one.
A lot of properties are. I think it's a great location for decent-sized properties. Like when The Walking Dead was back there, it was great because it was kind of hidden away. People were looking for it, but they couldn't necessarily find it. So the line was never atrociously awful.
Nope.
So, I mean, it works. I think it's a great location for the biggest IP, honestly.
I dug that house. I really did when it was in the parade building.
I honestly like 23's version of the Walking Dead house more than this past year's,
yes.
But that was just me. But I know a lot of people like the other one.
I feel like you have to be a fan of the show in order to fully appreciate the house from last year.
You do.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think you also could have been a fan of Horror Nights to appreciate the house, because the references to Strickland for Hellgate Prison and a bunch of the other old houses and the old IPs and stuff in there. It was a gourmage of just hints and little things for fans from Horror Nights and from The Walking Dead, all in that house.
If you're not paying attention, you'd skip right by it too.
Oh, absolutely.
Like the Chucky doll and Dollhouse of the Damned. If you didn't know, you just walk right by it. And a lot of people do it.
Yeah, there was 2 or 3 of those in there, weren't there?
Well, I have a nice picture of one of them, but
There were like 2 or 3 Chucky dolls in the house.
Something like that.
I remember
So,
one, but
hmm.
that's it.
So what do you guys think? Yay or nay on American Horror Story? Or do you think it depends on, because before we get to the other 3 IP topics, I think on, like, to me it seems like the New Line 3 and American Horror Story are the conquering force against The Walking Dead. So what do you think will end up being, close to the decision? Because obviously Walking Dead, you could just put that as the sole IP at an event and have everything else be original and still have just as many people show up.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So would the combined forces of American Horror Story and the New Line 3 be enough to take the place of that?
Yes and no. It depends on how strong your original lineup is for the diehards, and if you have maybe 1 or 2 like secondary IPs to pacify everybody else. I think if you take Walking Dead away, you're taking money off the table, and I think that's going to be the big reason why it would even stay in the first place.
Mm.
Oh,
You
yeah.
saw the crowds last year; it was hellacious.
Absolutely.
That's the reason why Walking Dead was a house I only went through 4 times, because the lines.
Yeah. Well, this past year, I thought the lines were pretty insane. I think I only did the house 2 or 3 times this year. And it had to be at the very beginning or at the very end of the night. Because it was insane.
But I think right now, if you're going to present an original concept for The Walking Dead this year that hasn't been done before, like the dual run idea that we've talked about, or maybe some sort of like the zombie laser tag thing, so you can literally kill off The Walking Dead, which I know a lot of people want to anyway. You want to create something new, I can see people going for it. But if not, it's just going to be another retread.
Absolutely. And I think that, the thing is, like, and we talked about this a long time ago, I think me and John did, is that at what point do we start seeing big repeats of big character houses? Obviously now we're talking about the New Line 3 coming back.
Mm-hmm.
We've already been at the event. How long before we start seeing, because there's only so many big, notable horror IPs, you know what I'm saying? Like, to an extent, like big marketable ones. And we basically had the majority of the big ones at the event now. How long until we start seeing those all get repeated and having their own sequel houses? To an extent. I mean, we've had The Thing twice. Now we've had AVP. We've had American Werewolf in London. We've had From Dusk Till Dawn. We've had, the New Line 3. We've had, all the classic monster characters. We've had Saw. The list goes on. These bigger ones. I mean, we've had smaller ones too, but, how long until we start seeing some of those get repeated? Because there's not a lot of innovation in building a lot of new things. With the exception, I think, of like Scream and Insidious, and also Sinister.
The Conjuring.
The Conjuring. I think some of those are only the last ones I can really think, and those all have the possibility of coming, if not this year, for the next couple of years, with their own newer products getting released to promote.
What worries me is that the Scream house would be like From Dusk Till Dawn last year, and it would be based on the MTV series and not the movie. That's what worries me.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's true.
That's the thing is that I find interesting though is we talked about Bates Motel a lot over the past couple of years, and that Mike does not care for the show, as far as we're aware.
Doesn't like it.
Yeah, so if the reason he wouldn't bring back Psycho or Bates Motel as a house, would he not bring, Scream back because he doesn't care for the show on MTV, and that's what's the newest thing to promote it with, and he doesn't support it?
Scream is old enough of a property now that we could make it a classic horror house, and it still fits in with everything else.
Does Scream fall under really a scary house or a comedy house?
It could go either way.
Yeah, I know to me, the first one is the most. I've seen all of them except the brand new one that came out a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that one probably had the worst reviews of all of them. I didn't see it, so I mean, you could tell obviously because this is your property you really like.
I liked it, but I'm a mark, so there you go.
Yeah, I think 1 and 2 are the 2 big ones that everyone always knows and remembers. But specifically 1 because it was so different at the time.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes, what side they would play up of it, because there's goofy parts of the movie. Like the killer is, it almost reminds me of what's that? What is that movie? You're Next. You know, where the killer's like, you know, they're kind of big and, you know, intimidating, but all of a sudden, you know, they get kicked in the balls and they like start crying and stuff on screen, and you're like, what the heck is going? What movie is this?
Some of that stuff works though.
It does work. Like, and when you watch the movie without the preset of this is a scary horror movie, it's really funny and it's enjoyable.
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
Like, how do you play that up with Scream? Because Scream's kind of in the same vein as that.
I just believe that it's the last big slasher that hasn't come to the event yet. I know there's a market for it, and I can see that it would go like a Halloween house. Probably not as loved as Halloween for sure, but I do see that there's people that would like to see Ghostface as a house and not just a room in an all-night die-in. Same with a lot of the all-night die-in properties. They need full houses.
I've really wanted a Hannibal house for a long time, but I don't think that's on the table for this year or the next couple of years. But to me, Scream, I would love to see a house based on the original film. I just don't feel like this year. I feel like if it came, I don't think it would be promoted as much as it should. You know what I'm saying? Like, to an extent, like I feel like it would get overlooked, especially if it came under, you know, if Walking Dead does come back, which we're not talking about, like, you know, I think we're speculating now that it is coming back, but we'll speculate against why it wouldn't come back. If and when it does, if that's the guys that's over it, you know, and say we got Walking Dead and the new Line 3, like that was the compromise. You got those 4. And Scream came along for the ride, like, it's going to get overshadowed entirely. Which, I mean, sucks because it's a great property, and it's probably the epitome of one of the big 90s horror films. Like, it was a big deal at the time.
Exactly.
But, again, out of those 4, it's not nearly popular. Which I would like to see your film, and also a film I enjoyed, get its fair day. That's just me.
As like talking about Scream and how like the the comedic side of it and everything. Well, look what happened with American Werewolf in London. It has comedy to it, but they did away with that.
It.
And made it fully scary horror. Same thing they can do with Scream.
Cabin in the Woods. Cabin in the Woods can be a comedy in places, too. And they made it a scary house.
Absolutely.
I mean, yeah, they can put in, like, little hints here and there, but, of course, they have to make it a scary experience. Not only visual, but, the other senses as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I just want to be standing in line just listening to Red Right Hand play before I walk into the house.
Pretty cool. I think it's been built well to be in a tent.
Yep, totally.
Same place that Halloween.
Yeah.
But yeah. So let's. I think I only have 2 more things as far as IPs are concerned on my list, and that's the first one's the Hitchcock, the compilation house we're talking about. Just briefly talk about that. Noticed, like, and Owen, you saw when you took the thing, they only had the 4 listed, so it almost feels like they have at least 1 or 2. Like, if we're getting our rumored 9th house, because it said, I liked how they posted it on the thing. Howling Hornets will feature at least 8 houses, at least.
Yeah.
Which is to me the biggest hint ever at, like, oh, guess what? We're getting more this year. Like, but if the Hitchcock house is already a done set deal, what are your thoughts on, like, an interesting? I could definitely see it. We've had great examples in the past. I think, to me, the Nevermore house would be a really good example of having, 1 Hitchcock at the beginning and 1 at the end.
Exactly.
And having, like, a TV screen alter you through the different rooms. We've had a lot of cool compilation houses, and they've had a lot of experience. We haven't had one in a couple of years now that was, like, a legit compilation of different rooms houses of varying experiences.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely feel like that there's an audience for it.
Oh yeah,
I think it would work great in a soundstage. You set it up, in a soundstage, and as it being a soundstage outside, as you walk into the first thing, if you have like the Psycho house, you start it out there, and you have that as the facade, and you walk into that.
No,
you have to stand outside.
They can do, like, remember with Edgar Poe, Nevermore?
Yeah, absolutely.
Very similar, like, to that. At the very beginning, like, say, if they're doing a soundstage, they can compile and make a little video and project it onto the walls of the soundstage, or if they do it in a tent, like they did with Nevermore. They can project, like, the
silhouette.
video clip of, Alfred Hitchcock talking, hello, whatever. And, just like a bunch of different clips from his different movies, and then you go into the house, he's right there, the man, the master of suspense, bringing you in, like Owen mentioned, and then we go into his different films. Like each room is different; it's a different film and all that stuff. That would be really cool. I love that.
I think there's also an opportunity to take all of those, and specifically, like, have you ever seen his movie The Rear Window, which would eventually inspire Disturbia? There's the two things I think is that, one, the house would be in complete black and white.
Yep, that's exactly what I said.
Hitchcock's movies are all in black and white, as far as I remember for the most part. But specifically, The Rear Window has the camera aspect to it. And that last scene where he's like taking pictures or whatever or something in it, like, that's a perfect opportunity to bring back the dead exposure-esque thing. Maybe just in one room, but having that be in there,
And potentially a director cameo if we don't want to go into a full house.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be great. I will be so down for a Hitchcock house. But Matt, what were what you said a little, just to go back to it, like bringing back IPs and like doing like sequel houses to them. Well, I mean, they can do that, but like there's many IPs too that you really can't do sequels.
That way.
One,
Yep.
there's really nothing else you can do with it. Number two reason, there's no sequels there's no franchise. It's just one singular movie. I guess what they can do is that Owen and I have brought it up. Silver Screams.
Yep.
Do a sequel to that. Put those films in there. Have their own rooms, stuff like that, or All Night Dying, whatever.
Dying paranormal version.
Well, I remember I told you, like, my idea was, like, for, like, if they could do it, like, either for this past year, which I don't think that is going to be done this year, but, like, for instance, like, the 30th anniversary, if they brought back all the characters again, you do a combination house between the director and the usher, and you do it on the paranormal. They're both dead, and you have, like, a cult that's trying to raise them both back, and you take you through all of these horror films that are paranormal ones. You take you through your Poltergeists, your Insidious, your Sinister, your Paranormal Activity, whatever you may be.
Cool.
And at the end, they're resurrected, kind of at the end. Always thought that would be an interesting concept, but absolutely, like the compilation houses, I think it'll be interesting to see. I think we're getting a hint at it as far as the Hitchcock one, but I think if it comes, if we get the Hitchcock house this year and it comes, that's definitely, I think, and depending on its reaction, will lead to more compilation houses in the future.
Oh, yeah.
Because they are really good. They just have to be done right.
Right, yeah. And no, with this year, too, like, if they do a house like The Hollowed Past in 2010, which I can definitely see a sequel to that, or just the same concept but with a different name.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many houses, obviously, 24 years worth of history to this event. Have put in other scenes from other past houses in there, They can definitely do that.
What's that house, Four Night Nightmares, or whatever that they did a long time ago? It was like a compilation of the
icon.
Icon
That would be
characters.
interesting, too. What if they do something like that this year with the icons in one house?
I mean, I kind of would and wouldn't want that. At the same time, like, I love all the other characters, but I want to see at least at least the director and the caretaker get their own years again. You know, have them have their own fair chance at controlling their own, because they haven't had their own thing since their incarnation years. They've just been a part of compilations, or just being there, you know. Whereas Jack has had, you know, what, this will be his 4th year as the main guy, because it was 2000, 2001, and then 2007.
Right.
So, you know, I think specifically the caretaker and the director are the other two, you know, the big universal 3 of Horror Nights is, you know, the caretaker, the director, and Jack, you know. Those will be the ones I remember as a kid being scared to death watching, you know, during the Halloween season when the TV commercials came on. As soon as those guys' faces showed up, you know, it was like, pull the blankets over your face and hide yourself, because it was, you know, specifically the caretaker scared me the most. Like, you know, and I think depending on how Jack does this year, we will see them return, and hopefully in their own years. But I think definitely for at least the 30th anniversary, I think that is a for sure. If we don't get it this year, we will definitely get that.
And we will definitely have 10 houses by the 30th. Mark my words.
I wouldn't doubt that.
Oh no, yeah, they gotta keep. Eventually, they're gonna have to. Could be this year, but yeah, eventually they're gonna have to add more houses, because the event is getting bigger and bigger. The audience and the.
I think the 30th will be the year that we go 2 parks. I don't think it's within the next couple of years. I think it's the 30th will be our 2-park year.
That'll be cool, because it all makes sense too, because like with the story of Halloween Horror Nights, in 2005 with the whole Terror Queen, she got sacrificed at the end. And according to the story, she'll be back 15 years later. So if they bring her back, have it back at Islands, that'll be great. You know, where she started off.
Absolutely. I think that's a great opportunity for all of that stuff to all come flooding back in. Especially
Warehouse.
Oh, definitely. That is funny that something that was built specifically for Halloween Horror Nights doesn't get used anymore. When they moved the event over. Think about it.
Yeah.
They talked about that they built that facility because they didn't have enough room for houses in 2002. So they built that thing. What an endeavor that must have been. Hey, we need a whole new facility, so you're going to build this for us. You know, how much money got wasted on that, but, you know, it was a good location, I think, for a couple of years that it got used. At least the next 3 or 4 years or whatever, they used it.
That's our extreme house. That's exactly where it's going to go when it finally happens.
Do you think that we're ever going to realistically have an extreme house?
Maybe not to, like, the level of, like, other haunts, but I do think we're going to get more extreme content for the next 5 years.
I think a good example of, like, what the extreme house, if we had an extreme house experience, is, you know about, obviously, the event that I'm a huge fan of, the Shallow Grave, how they do their event. It's not a, you know, it's extreme, but it's not like a solo extreme house. It's groups of like 4 or 6 going at a time together, and they're like kind of like divvied out. I could see them doing that as an upcharge for, you know, extra $60 or some craziness like that. But like, you know, I could definitely see them doing that, because you gotta know, like, if you're doing an upcharge extreme house, it's gotta be, you have to either have the right amount of people at the right amount of money to be able to pay for the sets and the actors in the house to have it basically pay for itself. Because if not, it's just a loss.
Raise the price a little bit and make it part of the Rush of Fear Pass.
Ooh, I mean, yes and no would be my answer to that. Because I think now, as far as locals go, it's getting more popular to do that.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of people getting Rush of Fear and Frequent Fear Passes, and I think that's part of why we're being so crowded now, is there's so many people coming back multiple nights, so many new people coming on single nights, that it's just starting to get out of hand a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, you understand what I'm saying a little bit?
Yeah.
And I know, like, Hollywood limits their multiple nights. Like, they only release so many, and it's only for a certain amount of nights, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's... I think, if anything, I think we're going to get more restrictions on our frequent fear as we go on, at least until the event expands exponentially to more space.
Yeah. True.
Cut Express down, please. It's ridiculous.
Express is almost like how it used to regularly be.
Remember the manager at the line manager at what's it called? Giggles and Gore Man?
Oh my god. God. Me and John always joke about like the past 2 years that we've done disaster queue houses. We've hated everybody that's worked the queue line.
So horrible.
We've waited. Dude, how long did we wait? We waited a long time.
More than an hour. It was ridiculous.
It's like out front of the house, like 15-minute wait, and we like get in line an hour and a half later. We're all looking at our phones.
Express go and go and go, and he kept holding off the regular line. I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah.
It was insane. Like they were starting to open up new lines and stuff like that. And I remember doing Havoc in 2013, and me and John were sitting in line, just like that was almost 2 hours. I remember, and we were so mad. Like Nathan was getting pissed, and we were just, oh god.
That line lies. Disaster queue line is always longer than it says.
It's a disaster.
Yeah.
Disaster queue is always a disaster.
Which was always too much longer.
Which was always a shock because like the past couple disaster queue houses, I legitimately have not enjoyed. I didn't really care for Havoc. The only time I went through Havoc that was okay was one night when I went and it was like empty. There was nobody in there. It was all right. Walking Dead house was a waste. I was in there, the first one, and then I mean, HR Blood Guts was cool, but like it wasn't. It's just the way that the houses in there work. I'm just not as a fan of. So I was shocked that Giggles and Gore worked so well in there.
I love that house.
Matt, when we came out of Giggles and Gore, we were like,
well, that was actually good.
We were mind blown at how
good it was.
How good it was. Like, wow.
We were, me and John were sitting there just going like, this is it. This is gonna be the worst house of the year. Like, this is it. I can feel it now. This is it. It's gonna be awful. And then we come out, we're like, that was actually good. I like that. Let's do it again. I think I ended up doing that house probably the most out of almost all of them. Going back.
Really fun.
Let me check my list. I don't remember how many times I did it last year. It was definitely up there. 8.
8?
I was probably close. Close to that. I think
8.
I did it almost every time I went.
Yeah, same here.
Okay, so last thing that I have on my list for IPs I'm going to talk about was just Insidious. And then we can talk about original stuff.
Okay.
Thoughts on Insidious?
Well, I was always told something that was proven to be a lie, and it makes me look like a complete and total fool because I have a video about it. But I was told that Dead End was their answer to Insidious. So I was thinking it would never come because of that. Well, I found out that was a lie. Apparently, Dead End was the apparition.
I've never seen that movie, so I wouldn't be able to properly say it. But Dead End and Insidious, to me, they're not similar in the slightest. I know that Dead End was supposed to be based on it was like the rumors of like the haunted house that really wasn't haunted, but the kids that said like the rumors made it happen that they were there. It's a kind of a complicated concept if you think about it, but it was a really cool house that year. I loved it.
Yeah.
Oh, I really wanted to see it too. That ain't Gothic, bro.
You missed out because those were like of a year of Garbo. Those two were the shining light.
I know.
Yeah, Gothic were the best two.
Yeah, I think my favorites were that year was those two, the Silent Hill house, and then the Classic Monsters house.
That was my first house ever.
Yeah, those were the best ones. And even Silent Hill and the Classic Monsters house weren't all like compared to like what we had over the past 2 years since then weren't really that great, but you know they're still the shining lights of that year compared to a lot of the other stuff. And I know that you like Penn and Teller though, but
I do.
It was okay. Bear in mind, me and John had just done the In Between the year before.
Yeah.
My mind had been blown away completely. So I was like, oh, it's 3D, it's trippy. But then I was like, what is this? This is like fart jokes in here.
I do like the interactivity though.
Yeah, it was cool, and we saw a lot of that in Giggles and 4 this year.
I thought that was great until people ruined it because people don't know how to stop touching things.
It's got buzz on the floors, like the thing was constantly shaking in there.
Ripping the licker's tongue out in Resident Evil.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Mm.
So anyway, but yeah, Insidious. I just honestly, I don't like. Hollywood had, for instance, like House of a Thousand Corpses. We've never had House of a Thousand Corpses. I honestly think that it should just we've had so many great paranormal houses that had nothing to do with Insidious. I just don't feel like it's a necessity to have it. I just say let Hollywood do their thing with it. Although, since it is their 10th anniversary and it is our 25th, I can definitely see it as a possibility that it will come.
Yeah.
Because the movie's coming out this summer.
Mm-hmm.
They've had it before. We've never had it. It's just, unfortunately, two of my least favorite things on this list was The Walking Dead and Insidious, and I can just see both of them happening.
I just don't think Insidious is coming. I think Hollywood's keeping it, but I don't think that we're getting it.
I genuinely hope so. I would much rather have Sinister out of the Blumhouse. But obviously, Sinister wasn't even brought up on the surveys, and that's kind of what we're going off of here. So
next year, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Well, when's the sequel coming out? Is it this fall, October, or is it next year?
I think it is October, actually.
Yeah, it could be the Promotion House. It could not be.
No, I got the Promotion House this year. It's Crimson Peak.
Really?
We got Dracula Untold, so I'm thinking that's what we're getting this year. It's Del Toro. I mean,
I haven't seen enough of that though to justify like saying if that's worth having. What is it even based off of?
I believe it's another like a ghost house story, like Victorian manor, and it has a bunch of paranormal stuff going on.
So it's like a Woman in Black.
Same old, same old. But it's Del Toro, so it's something that's
weird.
Yeah, exactly.
Have we ever actually had a Del Toro-esque house, like something that he's done at the event?
I don't believe so.
Could be a good opportunity to bring him in.
The Strain.
I think The Strain could come in time. I don't think it has a strong enough following, nor was the first season strong enough to bring in just immediately. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
it wasn't. Like, I kind of got bored with it after a little bit, but, like, there was enough justification to bring it in. Specifically, like, I think it was weird, too, like, in Bill and Ted, they quoted, like, American Horror Story, like, not to keep going back to it, but, like, that's starting now to have a cultural impact to an extent. I think that's the whole point of bringing a TV show to the event, is the cultural impact.
From Dusk Till Dawn didn't really have much for the television show, because most people I know hated it, but they know the movie.
Yeah. I like that house. It was alright.
I love that house, actually, and I get a lot of crap for that.
Well, I don't understand that. Like, I never thought it was, like, awful. I know a lot of people that hated, was it Hate to Fly and all those guys at United or whatever, like, dumped on the house. They dumped on that in Dracula.
They're veterans, though. I mean, they know, they've been through the entire year.
Well, two of them are veterans. Isn't one of them a newer guy, though?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. This is a weird subject to touch on, the whole veterans versus newcomers and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, who's jaded and who's not jaded. I know I'm already getting jaded to the extent with the event. Like, every year, like, they keep having to amp it up more, it seems, to keep me jumping on opening night. And as the event goes on, obviously, you know, it loses its luster. It's like chewing a piece of gum. But, yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Obviously, because we keep getting newer and newer technology and better and better effects every year. Like, I mean, John, you can tell, and I mean, I can say too. Like, since our first year's going, I feel like the event, as far as like the quality of the sets and the quality of the costuming and stuff like that's all gone up. Maybe the scare factor isn't as much, but how do you gauge that as far as you've never done this before to you're just used to it?
Right. No, like Walking Dead last year was one of the best sets I've seen, especially in the supermarket. The big whatever with the helicopter on top, that looked phenomenal.
I remember, I think there's only been 2 houses at Hornets that I've ever run out of, and I was with you both times, and that was The Walking Dead 2003, when it was all super dark in there, and they had the guys with the chain link fences, and they kept slamming like right in our faces, and me and you, Nathan, like freaked out.
Yeah.
And then the Halloween house at the very end where they all kept popping out.
Oh yeah, the trick or treaters was it? Yeah.
I don't know if it was I think it was the finale, like where they had like the three Michael Myers kept popping out all at the same time.
Oh yeah, I see. Yeah.
I remember you stopped for like a minute before and was like, "Oh, I'm not want to go through this."
Well, even in that house, like in the trick or treater scene, if you look at the house itself and you look up, it looks full scale.
Yeah.
It did.
Like it looked amazing. That house is just freaking awesome.
They're pushing the limits of what they can do in those tents.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, but hey guys, I gotta head out.
All right. Well, me and Owen are just
Yeah,
gonna
it was
chat for a
nice
few
talking
minutes.
to you guys. It was fun.
Indeed.
We should definitely do it again soon.
We'll do it again for soon. Real soon. As soon as we get more info, we'll do it again with everybody.
Right. Yeah.
We'll probably try to get some more people in here to do it.
For sure. Yeah. All right, guys. Good night. See ya.
There's Sucker.
Later, man.
Owen, so you want to talk a few minutes about some original stuff that might come?
Yeah, it's weird because I got introduced to Horror Nights because of Dr. Jimmy, and I went and I listened to all the Horror Nights history, and I've tried to do my homework so I can have an idea, so I can run with all the people that know this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And because it seems like I've noticed this, if you have zero credibility if you don't know what you're talking about.
Basically.
Any topic at all. So I'm trying to learn as much as I can. And I think Go ahead, sorry.
No, I said I did the same thing like 2 years ago. I think I got on a huge kick in like 2013 where I like went online and just raided Horror Nights Crypts and watched a bunch of Dr. Jimmy videos and like learned everything I possibly could about the ins and outs of everything that has been featured, at least in the past up until like 2000. I learned as much as I could.
Yeah. And I really, after my horrible experience at 22, I was like, if I'm going to go back, I'm going to do this right. So I started to really learn everything, and I had a great time in 2013, and it was a very enjoyable season. I really enjoyed all the houses. I loved Bill and Ted. It was great that YouTube meetup that Tim set up that we could go through the houses and film. That was incredible. And then last year, being able to go through Halloween with just me and my friend, that was incredible.
Oh yeah, the whole you won the contest, and you with what was that through? It was
Compound.
Yeah, the Compound. I thought the Compound was cool, and kind of cool. Like, what do you think about as far as the Compound versus Legendary Truth? Like, what do you think's better? Like, I honestly I didn't do much. I didn't do the Compound this past year, but I watched like obviously online everything that was happening with it.
Yeah.
And I thought it was much more of a success and much more interactive than Legendary Truth has ever been. I think Legendary Truth is like for the 1% of the 1%ers, it's just, I personally don't enjoy it. I think I don't have time to sit around and do that. I don't go to the event, every night.
Mm-hmm.
The event that I possibly can to run through the houses and do whatever. And I think like for certain people of names that will not be named, like they really enjoy it and it's built for them. They only have like what is it like? I think the last time, like 2003, they did it. They had like 5,000 participants or something like that.
Yeah,
which is a big number, but compared to how many people attend the event every night,
mm-hmm.
it's barely a drop in the pan.
My problem with Legendary Truth in 2013 was the fact that a lot of the times, especially in Resident Evil, is where I had the most issues. The scanners wouldn't work.
Yeah, the scanners were buggy. And it was hard to even get the whole thing set up to work initially.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, completely.
And I think we also had that problem, too. I tried to go, I think I went I can't remember if it was Thursday or Friday. The last time I went to the Horror Nights. Yeah, what day was Halloween on this past year? Was it a Friday?
That sounds right. Let me go back and check.
Yeah, I think it was I went on the Wednesday, because I went to Hallow Stream on the 30th, the day before Halloween. So it was the Wednesday that it was open. And I remember because they had the whole thing like get the app, get your scanners ready, and none of it worked. They didn't even start having it work till that Thursday and Friday. And I was so pissed because I was like, so what? So now I'm just excluded from this because like it's almost exclusionary to an extent. It's an exclusive thing for certain big fans or whatever. And then the fact that you had to the only people that got to really do it were people that paid for that extra night ticket.
I would have done that, though.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't have done that.
Bill and Ted, the last show of Bill and Ted, it's something I really want to see.
Oh, you didn't? Yeah, I actually have not done that. I went to the one the day before the last
Mhm.
showing in 23, but I don't know, like I'm just not a fan of it. I haven't been involved with it since the ground floor since
Yeah.
2008. So to me, it's not something that's like, ooh, Legends of Truth, ooh, 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 that's my heart, it's beating, ooh, every beat in my body that I'm loving for it. But for those that do like it, I think it's cool. But I think the Compound is just a better success in general with social media
Yeah,
than
and
Legendary Truth has ever been.
interactivity and social media, Universal is really learning how to utilize both of them to their fullest of their capabilities, especially this year and last year. They're really learning that there's a real big social media presence, and that's the reason why stuff like the Compound exists.
Yeah, I honestly could see. I see the Compound outlasting Legendary Truth. I think the Legendary Truth thing's starting to get played out a little bit. That's just me personally. I know everyone's super into, the morphins or, the traditionals and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone tries to hold like a rubric to it, but I don't ever think really like that's a predetermined thing. Like that's something that they set up, almost 3 years ago now. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, well, we got to stick to this rubric now. We got to have, these the Karezen or whatever they are. Like they don't like sit there and do that. Like that's fans, analogy to it. Like there was no Legion before 2012. And it's funny that everyone, wants to stick to a rubric of a Legion for the year that they hate the most.
Yeah, that's the weird thing. It's like I said with 2012, I was not able to really fully enjoy the event because of the weather and everything.
You did.
Yeah, it was terrible.
It was not the whole first two or 3 weeks. It was bad weather, and I had a rush of fear that year, the first 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And I think I went 2 or 3 times. And the first time I went, it started raining. It cleared up. And then the last 2 times I went, it was just packed because I went on Fridays instead of like Thursday or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was insane. Like,
Well,
that was when the Walking Dead fever really hit hard.
yeah.
And it was bad.
The second Friday of the event, for some reason, it seems like it's a sweet spot, though. It really is.
Definitely is.
Oh my God.
The second weekend always is a sweet spot because all the fans all run out for the first weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Most people don't start showing up to the event as far as general population until the third and fourth. That's when those crowds get big. But again, that changes every year.
Yeah, and I think this year is going to be different because we're starting later and we're going back to like previous years, like starting later in the event instead of starting earlier.
Yeah, which is good. I think like that's been a complaint though. Is like it feels too early to go to Howling Hornets in the middle of September. I don't care. I'll go. But like,
it works for me. It's around my birthday.
But for a lot of other people, they don't start getting into that spirit until, at least until October.
Yeah, it's like the Halloween parties. Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party starting in September, and eventually it's going to get to the point that it's going to start in August, and it's just going to continue to go earlier and earlier.
Well, I think the difference between like Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party is like and Howling Hornets obviously there's big differences.
Oh, of course.
There's massive differences, but
yes.
it's kind of like it's just a fun thing to do. It's like after that's just a parade. It's the trick or treating and like the storytelling and stuff like that. Like it's cool. Like it's cute, it's quaint. It's just like the SeaWorld thing.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of production that has to go into it.
Mm.
To the extent that Universal and Busch Gardens has to do.
Oh, not at all.
And so, for them, like, it's not a big deal to think about, oh, we'll just do this after, so only, like, 2,000 people showed up to do it? That's cool. But, like, with Howling Hornets, you have to have a certain amount of people showing up almost every night, to make it worth doing,
Yeah.
And so, if they have to limit their nights of events, if like the first and second weeks are getting slow, like obviously the first week you remember waiting on that line, me and you and my friend, we were sitting there waiting on that line, and like to get into the pass holder thing or whatever, like it took
of course.
We got rained on. Like,
I had to.
You hear the poncho, you're like, oh, I brought the poncho. It's like, damn it.
Yes, rain protection is key.
We had a great time. It was just we got soaked.
Totally. And that's another great thing. It's a great factor to be able to hang out with people at the event, too. I mean, it's fun for me to go by myself, but it's nice that I have a nice little core group of people that I can hang out with, and I'm not usually alone.
Well, that's the thing about going the first. I always feel like the first weekend I normally always do it as my meetup with my social media. You know,
Mhm.
all my fellow Hornets updaters, and people that are fans and stuff like that. Like anybody that wants to come and talk. I kind of save it for that. But after that, to an extent, like maybe after the first or second week, I kind of just do it like where I go with friends or whatever. And that's unless I see you or John for the most part. Because
Mhm.
Vic only goes like one time or twice, and he has a frequent fear pass. Or not, he has it with Express and stuff like that. And Neil's kind of the same way. So I
Yeah.
normally don't always see him because also just how my work schedule with my job right now falls. It's sometimes not as convenient to do that
Yeah.
or be able to go and meet up with everybody. But yeah, the first week is always definitely social media, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook.
Of course. I mean, my last night I went by myself. I had no one was going. It was just a night where I had to go by myself, and I still had a great time.
Well, there's always a couple. Like I always managed like one night. I went to a concert. They had like it was at the Hard Rock.
Yeah, I remember you
And it
talking
was like
about that.
yeah, it's not like on a Friday. So I went to do that and went ate Moe's, and then I was like, I'm bored. I don't want to go home yet. It's only like 11 o'clock, and Hornet stays open for another 2 hours. So I went over there and went to
Nice.
Halloween Hornets by myself for a couple hours. It was cool. Like I ended up talking to some people online. Like I'm not like I don't ever get like wake like I do every once in a while because where my job is. I work down near John Young Parkway, which is like 15 minutes from Universal.
Mhm.
So sometimes when I have a break from work and it's like it's a substantial 3 or 4 hours, and it's not enough to where I want to like I gotta go home, and I'm by
Yeah.
myself. I'll be like, screw it, I'm going to Universal. I can show up to Universal for a couple of hours, ride some rides by myself, do all that, and then go eat and just have some. I call it me time.
Yeah.
Like I don't have to like normally. Because when you go to theme parks with people, you have to do everything that everybody else wants to do,
Yeah.
But I would rather just do what I would like to do sometimes, and then go ride the rides I want to ride, and go eat what I want to eat, and then go see a movie, and then go back to work.
Well, I'm not a local, so I mean, I don't have the advantage of being able to hang out with all my friends because my friends that are locals all have regular jobs, and on the weekdays they're not available.
Yeah, absolutely.
But Horror Nights, it seems it's different because it seems like everybody's there.
A lot of people. A lot of people. And it's weird too. Yeah, the online presence, especially for a lot of people that are in Orlando, that are on the forums and stuff, we're there almost every night.
I'd do that if I could be.
I saw Tim a bunch. I think I only talked to him one time, but I saw Tim and Jen and Hate to Fly, all those guys always up there. But they're their own kind of little group because they don't have their YouTube presence. Their YouTube presence isn't the same as what our YouTube presence is. Not to say that like it's anything against them. They're kind of like the social version of like, hey, we have a YouTube page and we update every day, and then we're gonna go ahead to this and we're hanging out. It's different though, but they're a lot older than I am though too. So like, whatever.
Well, they're all really awesome people, and I'm very happy to call them my friends.
They were super friendly. Like I mean,
I
have no complaints against any of them. But they're definitely and that's the thing. There's different groups. Like I don't hang out with Design of the Fear or any of those guys.
I do.
I've only met Charles once.
Charles is a nice guy.
Mm.
He gets a lot of flack from everyone, but I got no problems with Charles. He's
because
a friend.
he is privy to a lot of secrets, and a lot of people don't like that. To an extent.
I can understand that. I mean, honestly, if I could.
That's not my personal problem with them, but that's I know a lot of people do. There was like a time where like the forums on Facebook was a big thing, and so a lot of the people and it wasn't Charles specifically, but it was some other people that rubbed me the wrong way, and so for me it was like I was like, I kind of after that, especially for this past year, I backed away from that and just stuck to my YouTube presence.
Yeah,
and that's gotten much better for me in the long run.
I just think it's really fun. I think it's really cool to be able to find like-minded individuals. Even though that I'm new to the event, I'm not an outsider. I feel like I actually fit in this group, and I like that. And I'm a part of all the groups that were just mentioned. I'm a part of the Designing the Fear group, and I'm a part of the OU group, and I'm a part of the Tim and Jen group, and I'm a part of the HNU group. So
Yeah, the HNU group, like, I'm kind of glad it's starting to shrink down some now.
mm-hmm.
There used to be a bunch of random people, like, whatever happened to Admiral and all those guys, like, they all just, like, kind of drop off the face of the planet. HHN guy, all those people, like, they don't really do anything. There's only certain people, and even, like, now that John's gone, even a lot of the guys that are in Hornets Updaters, there's only, like, 2 of them that have a main presence, 2 or 3 of them that have a main presence outside of that group,
Yeah,
anymore. That's John and Neil, and Aaron that do videos. True. The other guys kind of just do their thing and just pop up when they can.
That happens with scheduling. I mean, right now, I had 2 people on my channel, and they're just too busy, and it's basically up to me and my best friend and a friend of mine from the United Kingdom to be able to just shoulder the channel when it's
to run what you can.
Exactly.
But that's like the thing. That's like where there'll be gaps in like my videos or whatever. Like sometimes like because I'll be like, oh, I want to do all these things, but this like timing kicks in, and then other interests start kicking in, and then before you know it, you're like, well, it is December, so I'll put it on the back burner for a while, and blah blah blah. Like there's a lot of times there's things I want to talk about, but it's putting time into editing and putting all the stuff together and blah blah blah. It's it's a logistical nightmare sometimes having to sit there and deal with it.
Yeah, it's hard because with trying to do with doing videos every single day, I do have to set aside time, regardless what I'm doing otherwise, to make sure a video gets out.
Mm. Well, that's your channel's thing, though, is that you do more than just Howling Hornets. Whereas like for me, like all I have to worry about is this Howling Hornets, Howling Scream, which there's never a lot of updates except for like my 1 or 2 speculation videos that I do before.
Yeah.
The event is released, and then doing all the Shallow Grave updating, and that's about it. So it's pretty easy. So I can be sporadic when I want to.
Makes sense. I think this year it's actually going to be a really fun year, regardless.
I definitely agree.
The IPs are going to satisfy the general public, and they're going to bring in the crowds. I think the diehards are going to be pacified by some returns, some sequels, and some icons coming back.
Yeah, let's talk real quick, because I wanted to talk with you. I don't want to talk to John too, but we'll do another video another time where we'll talk more about it. Where it'll be our forefront. We have more confirmed and more bigger rumors to talk about. But the original content, that's going to be an interesting thing this year. Is how much original content we're going to get? Are we going to? I'm still feeling it's going to be the 4 and 5. We get the 9th house, it's going to be 4 and 5.
It just depends. I mean, there's so many.
But then again, it could be 6 and 3.
Yeah.
And that's definitely like think about it. Like we listed a bunch of things off. What if The Walking Dead? They just give it the 9th house position, and they have American Horror Story and the New Line 3, and either Insidious or Scream, and that's and then The Walking Dead, and that's the thing. Like it's a possibility, and then they just have 3 originals.
Well, we're basically hinting towards Nightingales, and we have been for the last several years, so I think that's pretty much a guarantee.
Yeah, everybody's been wanting that. Everybody.
Stuff like Catacombs, maybe. I mean, I'm hearing a lot of whispers about that too.
I know, but people have been talking about that one for a while. I think like the justification for getting a legitimate sequel house, you have to have characters that can be built around multiple situations.
True.
Like the Nightingales are a great character because you can throw them in anywhere and it would make perfect sense for them to be there. True. Like for instance, like you have another classic character like the Body Collectors.
Oh yeah.
You can use them in a lot of places, but still it's limited a little bit, but not entirely. I mean, you could do like an entire house. Like they did it. The 2008 one was based entirely on the European like serial killers and stuff like that. Like based around that lore. You could do an entire one based on American serial killers and that they were the guys that are really behind it and stuff like that.
That's dangerous territory.
That's a super sensitive subject, but you could do it.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, you don't have to do it on like recent killers. I think like you could do it on like people from the past, like the 40s, 50s, and 30s or something like that.
I can see that.
But I mean, people I'm not talking about like something that's like from the 90s or the 80s. That's super sensitive. Well,
Yeah.
that's 30, 40 years now almost, since some of that stuff happened. So you got to kind of gauge like when is something sensitive and not. And like obviously you can't have anything recent, but you don't want to have anything that's too out there.
No Manson, no Gacy, stuff like that.
Yeah. What is yeah, oh, definitely not either then. But who's a Rob Zombie that broke down those barriers? He threw both of those guys in his on them.
I honestly don't think Orlando will ever see Rob Zombie at the event.
I don't think so either.
I don't think we'll ever get another music property at the event at this rate either.
Unless it was Marilyn Manson, I wouldn't want to see it. I really wouldn't. It seemed like the thing is, like, the only ones I would want to see would be Marilyn Manson or Slipknot. But at the same time, there's such a gimmick, like, I don't know, like, let the Hollywood do that. Obviously we have our original houses and our IPs, which would be our movies and TV show properties now, and I think Orlando's got a bigger, whereas Hollywood has a big, obviously a scene for the music houses. We have a bigger scene, in my opinion, for the video game houses.
Why don't we? That they don't want to do. It seems like.
Well, I don't think that's Murray's thing. I don't think he likes video games. No. But I know Mike and a lot of the guys in A&D are fans of that stuff. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I see video games returning. I just don't know when.
They got to be strong ones.
Yep.
And I don't know which ones could possibly do at this point. I think obviously the front runners Dead Space and BioShock, but they could come whenever at this point.
I think at this rate we're also looking at a potential Scary Tales 4.
I would enjoy seeing that. I would.
And if anything, I think that it may be one of those things that you actually could bring. Obviously you're going to talk about stuff like Frozen. That's a way to do it, to be able to like skewer it like they did with Bill and Ted last year so successfully.
Absolutely.
And then there's the Babadook, which I know a lot of people want to.
What is that?
It's a very, very popular horror movie that came out earlier it's 2015. It came out last year. It's an Australian horror film. And it's something that would fit in a Scary Tales house, but I'm sure a lot of people would rather it have its own.
What is it?
It's like this pop-up book, and you're going to have to excuse me because I don't know much about it, but I do know that it was something that was mentioned a while ago before the movie even came out as a possibility, so maybe.
Well, I think there's a chance like you could do it, and like you could do like you could do Frozen, you could do like the Chronicles of Narnia, you throw that in there.
Yep.
And then you got all the, of course, there's so many classic ones, like you can't get away from like the Pinocchios and the Red Riding Hoods and the Goldilocks, like those are so ingrained. I think like with Scary Tales, like the thing is that the reason we had back-to-back of them so long ago, like in it was 2001, 2002, is that it was like they didn't do it right, so they wanted to give it a chance where they did it right.
Well, yeah.
And then they gave it time, and they brought it back again. And so I think within the next couple of years, it will have enough time passed to do it. But again, I feel like there will be another time in the event where we will have more. It'll be more original content driven again at some point.
It's true. I think
not
that
recent, not in the foreseeable future, but at some point, and even they've talked about it, that at some point it will go back to that.
Maybe 31. Maybe 31 is when it starts going back to original content.
Possibly. I think it also depends on who owns the company. Obviously Comcast owns Universal right now. What they do and don't let them do. What they deem as successful. What you can. Like so you want this many houses? Well, you've got to have this, and this, to be able to promote it to make your money. Obviously, they made money before. Like, it was no secret that Halloween Horror Nights put Universal in the black, the Orlando park, every year before Comcast bought it out, and Harry Potter was brought in and stuff like that. That's what kept them successful, and it kept them above water for many years. But now it's just on top of it. It's not necessary.
Yeah, Universal is a destination.
Yeah, it's no longer a thing. Like, it will never go away. Halloween Horror Nights will not go anywhere.
No.
But it's not it's not needed to keep the thing alive anymore.
But it's very much appreciated by everyone that enjoys going to the event.
Almost certainly, and it puts a lot of money in their pocket too.
Oh yeah.
No one's been complaining about that for a while.
I think this year we're also going to get a lot of former houses turned into scare zones, and maybe some former scare zones turned into houses. I really want Roanoke as a scare zone. It just jumps out scare zone to me.
To me, this year I want a better street experience.
I agree.
Presence. And to me, the way you do that is adding one more scare zone in the back of the park would fulfill the scare zones.
There's nothing there.
We need something, a horde. We need at least a couple of hordes. And I think if you bring the carnival experience, having clowns roaming the park in dead spaces is completely would work.
Clowns saw drill team.
Absolutely. And obviously in 2007 they had Carnival Carnage. There was no set scare zone. It was all the midway of the bazaar or whatever.
Yeah.
They're just roaming people all over the place. And I think, honestly, like, if you do it right, it can work really well. There just needs, the back of the park's just too dead. It's just too dead.
Yeah, once we get to it's pretty much from Springfield all the way to Disaster, there's nothing except for Bill and Ted, and a couple, like, line queues.
Yeah, even this year, it was all the way from Kid Zone, with the exception of, it was all the way from Kid Zone all the way up to, what's it called, to San Francisco.
Yeah.
There was nothing. That's half the park.
Yeah. That's the problem, though. There's a lot of places you can't put places now.
And then all the stuff that's in front of Transformers.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know if it's so much you can't. I think the only one that they're not using currently is
London.
Yeah, London's not getting used. Which the whole nobody. I don't think anybody really knows what the story is behind that because it changes constantly.
Yeah.
J.K. Rowling doesn't let them use it. Well, J.K. Rowling would let them use it, but they haven't asked. And it's like changes constantly. Like, I've just come to the fact that nobody really knows what's going on with that. And I honestly think that Universal just doesn't want to use it because why open up? Like, okay, specifically the Diagon Alley, it's built to be separated off. You can, going in there is, with the crowds that the Horror Nights brings in, it's almost bigger than the day crowds. It's going to be, you don't want and it's a rowdier crowd. There's more drunk people. You don't want them going there and messing stuff up.
No.
Because it's not even like Hogsmeade, where Hogsmeade's very big and open.
Mm-hmm.
Diagon Alley is very compact and, close together. You could definitely see people messing some stuff up in there. And I think that's a big reason why not to have it open. And then not to have, if you use this area, do you have these restrictions? But I think that's the whole point of the London front is that it's ambiguous, to an extent.
I mean, I'd love to see a Jack the Ripper scare zone in London, but I don't think it's feasible at this point.
Well, the thing is, too, is it would have to be. I don't think the parade goes through there, does it?
No, but the night bus is there, and that may be a big problem.
The night bus could be, but if you do use it, it could be an opportunity to use sets again.
Yeah.
But then again, it's a problem during the daytime because you get a lot of people wanting to go in there. That's the entrance. It's a whole lot of factors. And I guess that's getting the logistics of building their event and why it takes them as long as they do and why they need the time that they do. But yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, they're definitely Springfield needs something. They need to work out a deal or something to bring Treehouse of Terror or something back there. Even if it's a returning scare zone every year, I don't care. It just needs something, man. Make it the goofiest. Put all the carnival stuff back there. Put something with the Treehouse of Horror back there, and just call it a day because it's just too dead right now. It is too dead. Like, it's nothing.
It's a safe zone.
I don't like safe zones, but we do already have safe zones to an extent.
Yeah.
I mean, like the whole Transformers area, and that's all safe.
Mm-hmm.
We've got all of everything from Diagon Alley all the way up to Men in Black's been safe.
Yep. Well, Chainsaw Drill Team was getting people outside of Men in Black last year, and the year before, but who knows if they would want to
2003.
Yeah.
I mean, not 2013 Black.
You said that like 3 times. No worries.
I know, right? I know. It's been a day.
I want new merch. I mean, I don't mind. I will rock the Horror Night shirts, but they need new design on merch.
I didn't even buy any of the new like event merch this year.
I did for people.
I bought the Halloween shirt and I bought the American Werewolf shirt.
I did too, but I bought the Halloween shirt for someone, and I bought the werewolf shirt for myself.
Mm-hmm. I didn't really care for the house shirt this year.
That for me, it's for some reason it's always with any shirt. I like the house shirt because I like the design where there's something on the front, there's something on the back. I hate shirts where there's nothing on the back.
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely. I agree. Like it was cool, but like I said, I really don't like the sticky material they put on the front. Get rid of that. Like that's no good. Like I loved my Hallow Scream shirt from 2013 because it's just like it's a logo on the front here, and then it's got those houses on the back. It's really cool. I love that shirt.
Yeah, I think if I remember, 21 wasn't like that.
No, it was not.
Because I actually
21 and 20 were not like that.
Yeah, 21 was the first shirt I got.
Did you buy it online?
No, I got it in the airport.
In the airport?
Yeah, the Orlando gift shop. The Orlando gift shop. The Universal Orlando gift shop in the airport.
When did you get that? Like in 2011?
Yeah, right as we were getting ready to get on the plane.
Nice. I didn't even know they had merch there.
Oh yeah, they sell some of the Horror Night shirts on there. Actually, they don't really sell much, but they do have a nice little array of stuff for people can get to the parks.
That's super cool.
Yeah, I thought so.
I didn't know that. I did not know. I don't go to the airport that much. Unless I obviously have to fly. I don't fly out that much. But yeah, that whole place is a nightmare. Hawaii.
I like that airport actually a lot.
I mean, it's nice, but picking people up there sucks.
I can understand that.
There's like all these security guys that sit out there, and like they'll like if you pull over for a second, they like whistling at you and stuff like that. Like, oh, you gotta get out of here. Yeah, it can be a nightmare. It can be hectic.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to try to find a way to get back over to Cabana when I come back over for the closing week, so I can make sure I can maximize my time in the parks.
Absolutely. Every year.
Yeah. So Universal is really, really knocking it out of the park right now, and there's a lot of things on the horizon. In the next 10 years, Universal won't even look the same as it does right now, and I think Horror Nights is going to evolve with it as well.
Reflect that completely.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's weird to say, but I think honestly Horror Nights is helping them fund a lot of their expansions.
And vice versa, actually.
Absolutely.
But it's weird because if something does go away, then you have to find room for something else, and then you have to find new space, and it goes back to 22 again when we're walking around and all that's there is basically a bunch of construction walls.
Well, you know, the thing is about 22, that would have worked effectively with it because of so much construction going on, but they didn't do it, is 22 would have been the perfect year to trying to implement a two-park thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's just so much restricted because you get the Diagon Alley thing ripped up, you had Transformers being built, there's a bunch of other crap that had walls up. It was just so, yeah. And, you know, obviously, Islands of Adventure wasn't getting touched that much at that point.
Yeah.
And it would have been a better year to utilize half and half, in my opinion. But we'll see. I mean, like, if the event keeps getting bigger, you know, more people start showing up every year for it.
Yeah.
And after, you know, even after they stop showing up for the big IPs, they just show up because it's the thing that they do. They fly into town, they go to Horror Nights.
Yeah, of course.
And also, I think, you know, the thing is also as well as I mean, my family talk about all the time, is that the way people vacation in Orlando is changing now. It used to be all about the summer. It was all about the summer, and then like, you know, from Thanksgiving to Christmas was like it was when everything was busy. Disney, Universal, everything was packed.
Yep.
Now it is 24/7.
Oh yeah.
At both places, like it doesn't matter. It could be in the middle of February, and there will be, you know, a gajillion people at Disney and Universal.
Of course.
You know, it doesn't matter. Like obviously it's not as bad, but like, you know, it's the international presence now. Like it's just there's always going to be people there, which is a good and bad thing for locals. But definitely the parks are going to change and evolve. More bigger expansions are going to happen. But like you said, yeah, like when Comcast bought Universal, they're overhauling everything. Yeah, I would not be surprised if neither Islands of Adventure nor Universal Studios look the same. I feel like they're trying to focus on getting the studios done before they move on to Iowa to get everything changed over. Because
Probably.
I think there's some pending things that are worth changing. I think
Mhm.
also Jurassic Park, depending on how Jurassic World, if it becomes a trilogy, will be the determining factor if that gets an overhaul. Because
Yeah, we get,
if Jurassic World becomes successful, you better be for sure there's going to be some overhaul in there.
I think Lost Continent's going to be gone regardless. It's just a race to see what's going to get it first, Jurassic Park or Harry Potter.
Well, I don't think I think it might be just something new. Honestly,
Maybe.
I think both Lost Continent and Toon Lagoon will be on the chopping block.
For sure.
First to go. And as soon as that contract that Disney or Marvel has with their characters at Iowa, that's up. Be damn well sure that Disney's pulling that,
Yep, for
and
sure.
they're gonna have to replace it. So like, there will be a day where the culling of Islands of Adventure will completely change.
No, of course.
But until that day, obviously Marvel Superhero Island's not going anywhere. But I think specifically Lost Continent and Lagoon they need serious revamping.
They need something.
They need serious. But honestly, to me, both of those areas just need to go.
I guarantee that Kong will help Iowa out considerably.
And bring new presence to it.
For sure, because I can honestly tell you that other than riding over on Hogwarts Express, I didn't go over to Iowa except for maybe for all last year, maybe 2 times.
You see, I like going to Iowa because now how big the studios is getting,
Yeah.
how popular it is, I like going. Because it used to be the opposite. You used to go to the studios to escape Iowa, and now it's kind of the opposite.
Yep.
Because there's so much new stuff at Universal. Like, I enjoy going, obviously, over and riding the roller coasters and stuff like that, but, like,
Same.
yeah, besides Hogsmeade, and I guess some of Jurassic Park a little bit. Well, I think mainly it's Hogsmeade in the Marvel area.
Yep.
Everything else is dead. It is
Oh, yeah.
like, I remember, like, I was just looking at someone, like, last night I was there. I was walking through. Universal was still decently, had some people in it. It wasn't super crowded. I got on the Diagon Alley to Green Gots ride in like 10 minutes into the single riders. It wasn't that long. But so then I took the tram over, and Hogsmeade had a few people in, but it was starting to clear out because it was getting close to closing.
Mm-hmm.
And there's still some people lingering in there, going on another Harry Potter ride. And as I walked through Jurassic Park, I don't think I saw a single person in there or in Toon Lagoon. Like, nobody. And I know because the ride was down.
Yeah.
Like, they closed down the water rides. One, because all of the Toon Lagoon's revamping, doing the refurbishment of what's Ripsaw Falls.
Yeah.
But, like, right. I think they closed a lot of the water rides earlier because it gets cold.
Oh, yeah.
Now the winter. But they closed them down earlier. But I walked through there and there was not a soul. It wasn't until Marvel, like the Marvel area, that I saw anybody.
Well, that's normal now, though.
Yeah. So they definitely, like I said, all those areas need to be revamped, and which is interesting because they have the whole Triceratops trail that's not getting used at all. They can implement something in there.
Oh, definitely.
And there's just a bunch of like open dead spots and like, shops and crap that they can get rid of in there, and they can put stuff. Because Jurassic Park's a really big area of Islands of Adventure. It's huge.
Yeah.
It's really, like, I always forget how big it is because every time I walk through, it's like really big. But yeah, it's not small.
They need to do more with it, though.
Absolutely. They're not doing anything with it now. I think it's just open space for them to do whatever with. And also, like you said, it depends on how Kong does and how that's received. But is it going to be just a ride, or is it like going to be its own area now?
Right now, I've seen the building. I have.
Yeah. Oh, it's big. It's built
huge.
up now.
That ride building is huge.
Yeah.
I think that right now, I mean, a lot of people are expecting it's going to be another 360, and just like when Fast and the Furious comes to Universal, which I know it's going to happen, it's not going to be supercharged. It's going to be something completely different.
I think that'll be what replaces Disaster.
That's what I'm hearing too. But then again, that's all speculation. So. Yeah, Universal's going to look a lot different, and then there's what's coming to Twister. So I mean, there's a lot of things.
What are they putting in there?
There's some rumors about Rockefeller Center, 30 Rock, NBC, Jimmy Fallon, stuff like that. There's a lot of different questions to be asked right now, a lot of answers that no one's giving.
It's just a small soundstage. There's not a lot you can do with it.
I just want to say my goodbyes to the PAX at Horror Nights this year.
Is it closing down this year?
I'm going to guess if they're going to start. I know there's a lot, again, rumors, that there are already implements of the ride technology that are on site right now. And if that is the truth, then I think that I can see Twister shutting down before this year is over.
Yeah.
That's a guess, though. I don't know for sure.
I think the Twister thing is a quick turnaround, too, though.
It could be, depending on how far they want to go with it.
Yeah. I don't know. The space isn't big enough, and the area is not big enough. I don't think it's not going to have this big grand opening.
The rocket's a big problem.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, it's not even... I mean, what are you going to put in there? I mean, you could do cool stuff. You could do like a magic show or something. I don't know.
Ghostbusters.
Yeah. Also, isn't Terminator like scheduled to be taken out as well?
You know, that theater is huge, and they really need to do something with it. I mean, there's a lot of weird things going on right now. A lot of people are talking about, for some reason, like maybe the Hunger Games stunt show, something like that. It was on a survey, apparently. People were thinking it might be a stunt show. That's the only thing that comes to my mind, because there's really nothing you can market with that brand and make it feasible for a theme park attraction, except for a stunt show.
Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, I think that the Terminator Theater, if they ever want to get rid of anything in there, I think that it's perfectly made for a return to Ghostbusters. I think Ghostbusters returns to Universal without a doubt within the next 10 years.
If the new franchise takes off, then most
I don't care about the new franchise. Watch that video to see what I think of the new franchise.
Yeah, I know, but like still, like obviously the new franchises of what it's gonna be is the big is gonna be the big thing. I mean, from the actresses that are listed that are gonna be in that movie, there's not a doubt in my mind that it's not gonna be kind of successful.
It's gonna fail.
If it bombs,
it will bomb. But
if the movie sucks, it's gonna be like a Transformers. There's just gonna be people that show up to see the movie.
Oh yeah. But I think that it's time for Universal to start going back to the past, to bring back stuff that we've wanted to have for a while that's been gone. Like maybe like the art of making movies, the Alfred Hitchcock attraction. I always loved that, and I'd love to see something like that brought back, especially if disaster is going away.
Unfortunately, I think Universal's mindset is the bigger, badder, and better.
Oh, I know.
So, I think but that's the thing though. Is like, what do you do with these smaller things like the Terminator Theater, Kid Zone, Twister, Disaster?
SpongeBob.
Yeah.
SpongeBob.
100% cannot agree more that SpongeBob should be the entire Kid Zone thing.
I almost guarantee you it will be, because I'll tell you right now.
What was it? The Smurfs was the biggest rumor last time. Oh god.
The Smurfs, the Grinch coaster they had in Iowa. That was my
Grinch in there. God, no. Like that's it's so old now. It's not relevant. SpongeBob entirely.
Well, look what the money that it made this past weekend, and look what it's going to continue to make. I'm telling you right now, the Krusty Krab will be at Universal Orlando within 10 years.
Oh, I would love it. I would freak out more for that than the Harry Potter rides.
I'm not a SpongeBob guy, but I'd love to see it.
Oh, I grew up with it. I'm all about it.
Now, if you bring back Double Dare or Legends of the Hidden Temple, like that I could actually go through, I'd be a lot more down with that.
I'm gonna try to pretend like I know what any of that is.
Game shows back in the day.
Those are old shows from like the '90s, aren't they? Because that might even be a little before my time. Because I can't remember a lot from the '90s. I was only like 6 or 7 when it was over.
Gotcha.
So like, early 2000s, late '90s, that's my jam. Batman Beyond, Spider-Man, SpongeBob, dude, Rocket Power, all that stuff. That was my jam.
I got out of Nickelodeon before SpongeBob started, actually, so I wasn't even.
That was when I was getting into it. Was when SpongeBob started.
I can understand that.
Yeah, so I remember because like before there was still like a big Saturday morning like TV presence.
Mm-hmm.
in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
And SpongeBob was one of the things that really kick-started, like, my parents, like me having, like, watching, actually turning on Nickelodeon
Mm-hmm.
was SpongeBob.
Hmm.
Weird, right? But, like, that's not, but now, like my generation, like, it's weird because, like, SpongeBob was like, oh, I love SpongeBob, but, like, now, like, my little cousin is, like, 8 years younger than me.
Yeah.
It's totally ingrained into his mind. Like, SpongeBob has always been there. It's like Bugs Bunny to him.
Yeah, completely agreed.
But yeah, SpongeBob, like, he's one of their, like, I cannot believe they haven't done, I can't believe they put friggin' Despicable Me in before they actually gave SpongeBob his fair due.
Despicable Me was kind of a waste, too, because I really think it needs a bigger presence, because it's a bigger franchise than they thought it was going to be.
The Minions are blowing up big time.
Yeah. Then
I would be,
there's
I would be surprised to see more of that.
there's the Star Trek rumors that I've been hearing for a long time. There's, like, the Blue Sky Lord of the Rings ideas. I mean, just, like, it seems like if you throw it against a wall and you'll think people will believe it, then say it, and let's see how many people jump on it.
I think, honestly, the most logical thing is the Fast and the Furious.
Yeah, I think that is going to happen.
I think that and SpongeBob are the first two most logical implementations into the. And actually, it's funny to think about. I would even dare to say take out all of Dr. Seuss and replace all of that with SpongeBob.
Well, that was that original?
Reading there.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, the only thing in Kid Zone that I think it's going to be left standing is going to be Animal Actors and E.T.
I think E.T.'s done.
People want to keep it on there for some reason.
But the same thing happened with Jaws, though. Like,
yeah.
Like, that's like E.T. Like, it's funny. It's weird to say, but like when me and my friends would like go to we used to go to the parks a lot, but like we show up like a little inebriated.
Okay.
The first thing we would go to is E.T. And I don't do this kind of stuff anymore, but like we'd show up inebriated because E.T.'s so hokey. And like you go in there, we just like laugh. We just laugh because like the guys are like the managers like, oh no, like it's so bad, but like it's so bad that it's good. That
it's a great dark ride.
Yeah, I would miss it, but I think it's like doing something like SpongeBob in there. You could totally work. Doing it the right way, obviously. You could do it with like a 360 hanging thing. That'd be cool.
Mm-hmm.
Make the entire ride a screen.
Too many people would complain about that because they say there's way too many screens at Universal.
It's all screens now.
I know. The screens from the screens from Evil Dead are the ones that they use in Gringotts.
Really?
Yeah.
You know it would work though. Have you done the Little Mermaid ride that's at Disney, the new one?
Yeah.
That would work. Doing that like with SpongeBob inside E.T. would work great. Like something in that style.
Yeah, but is the building big enough?
I think so. I definitely think so.
Okay,
because there's a lot of outside queue space.
Why don't we just cut off the entire Kid Zone area and make it like yesteryear Universal?
Well, wasn't that what it originally was the Alfred Hitchcock thing?
Yeah, well, you obviously have the Spielberg connection with bringing back stuff like Back to the Future and Jaws. And then you use that with E.T. and you have that all in that area, and then you find a new place for Kid Zone for SpongeBob to go.
I think the next logical step is taking out Dr. Seuss and putting SpongeBob over there. That would be my thing.
Yeah, but don't you think that it fits more in studios than it does IOA for SpongeBob right now?
Absolutely. I would 100% agree with that, but
yeah.
I'm just saying, like, if those were the options.
Yeah, okay, I see that.
But, it is what it is.
True.
The Kid Zone's a weird space, too, because it's weird, because, like, if you look at it, like, it goes back and in. It's it's a weird offset part, so you need something that's going to bring people back there. And what more would bring them back? Like I like your ideas that appeals to me, like bringing like Universal of the past.
Yeah.
Do like an entire walkthrough experience of like stuff that's been at Universal, stuff about the movies, stuff about the parks. I would be super into that, but like
a tram tour in Orlando.
Is that enough to bring people realistically? Is it the payout worth it? And honestly, like I would love that, but I don't foresee that happening. Yeah. I feel like if they move forward with the SpongeBob idea, that whole area is just gonna get revamped. Because isn't there like a Barney show back there too and all that?
Yeah, you could put something back there too. I mean, there's a lot of real estate right there in that area.
I think honestly, like Animal Actors is cool, but that whole Animal Actors and all of Kid Zone is going to be revamped.
They don't want to get rid of Animal Actors for some reason. It seems like because it always seems like they want to get rid of it and they never do.
Yeah. I think it's because it's a small little theater. I know they use it for a lot of stuff. They used to use it when I used to go to Rock the Universe as a small, like intimate little like concert space compared to like the big stages they used to set up. But I don't know, like I don't think you have to change a lot, but you could do like a daytime SpongeBob show or a Nickelodeon thing in there. But I think like right now, like I guess the reason I would say SpongeBob and Bikini Bottom in general is just after seeing what they did with The Simpsons. And what they've done with Harry Potter, the next logical big thing to me is doing that. Like, I mean, wouldn't you want to walk through, like, you know, seeing the Chum Bucket and SpongeBob and Squidward and Patrick's house and, you know, Sandy's little tree dome? You could do that as the playground. You know, you could have, obviously, the Krusty Krab as the restaurant, you know.
That's going to be fun.
You could do a stage show. You could, you know, redesign E.T. to be the SpongeBob ride. I mean, it's just, like... You do that, you're gonna have. You thought Harry Potter's big? That's just as big.
I know it is. Yeah. An audio animatronic Squidward serving you.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
I'd super into the idea.
It's just like the Gringotts Bank Trolls. I mean, it'd work exactly like that.
You have all the registers with Squidward in the middle. Like I said, I'm 100% for that. If it does happen, it happens, and I'd be super stoked on it. It'd be the first thing like I'd be super excited about seeing. I think the interesting thing is too is that how long do you think Men in Black's gonna stay?
I think you either get rid of it or retheme it.
I think honestly, like thinking about it, retheming that to Fast and the Furious works just as well as using Disaster for it.
That's a Ghostbusters shooter attraction waiting to happen.
Definitely. And like I said, depending on that new franchise, if that works out, believe it. Believe it.
I
know you don't want to think about it, but
no, I don't. And the movie's gonna suck, and there's nothing telling me otherwise. So.
Well, I don't like Transformers, but you know people still like that.
I don't mind the ride. The ride's fine, but I don't like the movies. I never have.
After the ride is just like Spider-Man.
It's the same. It's the same exact ride technology.
It's a verbatim Spider-Man with a different color skin.
We were not supposed to get Spider-Man because Spider-Man was Universal Hollywood's answer to, Transformers was the answer to Spider-Man, and we weren't supposed to have them both, and we have them both, and they're basically just literally a train ride away.
Well, now I don't think anybody really cares when they come. They're like, oh, no. Well, I mean, like think about it. Disney has like two, like the flying carpets in Dumbo.
Yeah, you know? there's definitely one of those attractions in pretty much every park.
I mean, so it all just works.
Yeah, I agree with that. I know we're heading towards a price increase. Before this month is over, we're going to have a Magic Kingdom ticket that's going to be $105 a day.
Oh my God!
It's getting ridiculous. I mean, I'm a Disney guy, but I'm telling you right now, it's really getting hard.
I'm not that big of a Disney guy.
It's getting really hard to be able to justify spending that money when I do hit the parks. It's just I'm finding myself at Universal a lot, and I have stuff I like doing in Disney, but it seems like it's starting to become a lot less than it used to be, which is weird.
I don't know. It's all very interesting.
So what are we looking at for Horror Nights tickets this year? What do you think our top ticket for a single day of it? Just a single night, and that's it.
Close to $100.
You don't think it's going to break $100 this year?
I think it's definitely going to be at least $100. I think the general one without being Florida resident, $100.
I can see that
easily. Express is going to get another increase.
I'm so worried about Express right now.
I think the only logical step is because it's getting so popular now, is to give it an extreme price increase, which I think it should.
Everything's a la carte and everything can be put together, but I think it's a great idea to actually do it like a vacation package. Like you get your ticket, you can add on Express to it, you can add on an RIP tour with it. You just have to pay the price in order to do so.
I think that is a good option. I don't think it won't not happen. I think that's something that definitely in the future that will be feasible. So
I want a tour combined with, instead of having to pay for it a la carte.
Well, I think like ultimately like the goal will be the ultimate Howling Hornets experience during the day, which is the tour during the day of inside all the houses, and then your guided tour throughout the night with your ring tour, along with your hotel.
That sounds like a $400-$500 package right there.
I mean, it's pretty convenient if you're going to do all of it, and you're like, one day though. You know, if you think about it, if you want to do because they do that at Howl-O-Scream, they have a ticket where you have to call in. It's like $300 or $400, but you get everything. Like you get a guided tour through the houses. You meet all the crew. You get to go, a tour through, during the event into wherever you want to go. Like, and it's like all this stuff. You get taken to this secret area and all this stuff like that.
Yeah.
And Universal will not be afraid to implement that. Mark my words.
What about dressing up the general public, giving them a little bit of advanced techniques, and maybe making you like a character for a night, and letting you scare in the houses or scare in the scare zones? Make that.
I feel like that's something more of the compound.
I think that's something that was missed from the compound, honestly.
Well, I know they did a thing like in 2003 and 2013 with
Havoc.
With Havoc, yeah, they brought all the people in and let them do a run through with Havoc.
Yeah.
I mean, it just depends, what they want to do. I mean, I know they've done it before where they had celebrities getting dressed and let them run around to do stuff before.
Yeah.
That's cool. But just depends, changes, varies. But I think honestly, I'm with the expansion of the parks of Universal itself and the expansion of the event itself, it's all going to change.
Oh, yeah.
It's all going to be different. It's all going to be one craziness after another.
And you're always bringing in new people. It's like you may lose a couple here and there, and I've
for every 2 or 3 hardcores they lose, they bring in another 100 randos. Which they don't care about.
Just like people that won't pay the price at the movie theater. For every 5 that leave, 50 will.
Yeah. Absolutely. The bigger, obviously, like summer movies, it's all about the big blockbuster now, and making it a good big blockbuster. So people might not like it, but God, it's not, impossible to gauge that, like Marvel and comic movies are in.
Yeah.
Big money. Like the same thing goes for Universal. The IPs are in, so big money. At one point in time, the original content was, big money. They're like, I think like the funny thing is like a lot of people act like IPs are such like a new implementation, like and like they're taking over event. But I mean, you've done your research. You look back, like in the '90s, there was a lot of IP houses that they did, and even in the 2000s. Like, look at 2002 for example. There was a bunch of IPs, like the Marvel, the Carnage House was an IP.
Yeah.
Fear Factor's an IP. Jurassic Park was an IP. I mean, the list goes on. Like, the only things that was original was Scary Tales and Scream House. Everything else was an IP. So people want to sit there and complain about it, but like, you didn't complain then about it, or at least, maybe people did complain about it then, but now it just seems irrelevant.
I think we have to get more shows to get people out of the houses and out of the scare zones for a bit.
Yeah. I don't think there's enough space. There's not enough space in the park.
They won't use the places they have, though. That's the thing. I mean, we've got Animal Actors, you've got Beetlejuice, you have Fear Factor, you have Terminator. There's all places. You
got to have shows that people want to see, though.
Well, Bill and Ted, obviously, every year at Fear Factor, but when Fear Factor goes away, and eventually it will, where do you put Bill and Ted? That's going to have that kind of room.
You got to put them over in Iowa.
Yeah, at Toon Lagoon?
Yeah, at that stage.
I've been talking about that for a while, too. It makes sense.
At some point, like, it's all going to be geared. It's funny, like, as you look at it, because Universal's about the synergy thing. It's about the two-park experience now. It's about the two-park experience for the regular ticket. Like, I 100% will guarantee you, over the next couple of years, there's going to be fewer and fewer options for buying just single park tickets at
Oh, yeah.
Universal Studios. It's all about, going to both. It's all about it. And so why would you not have your events that reflect that? Like, it's weird because, like, all the events happen in the studios now. Like, there's no real events besides some of the Christmas stuff that happens in Islands of Adventure.
True.
I don't really understand why it's that way, but, it is.
Technically, Grinchmas is at the studios, too. You just have to line up for it at IOA.
That's silly.
Well, that's just how it works with the sound stages. It sounds like we may get like 5 this year for soundstage locations.
That is something I'm 100% for.
Mm-hmm.
The sound stages are great because they're so centralized. No matter where the event is held at, you can always access them.
True.
Like, that's never the problem.
It's just the walk. A lot of people complain about the walk. You have to make that work.
Oh, boo-hoo. Boo-hoo.
Well, you were in line with the people just like I was. Everybody was complaining about the walk.
Yeah. Oh, the walk was horrible in 2003. I mean, God, why do it keep 2013? Ah!
I agree. The walk was horrible in 2013.
That big, like, going around the back, like, that was stupid. But, like,
and everything was reversed this year. Everything was reversed with, like, the soundstage houses. You'd think that they'd exit one way and they exit the absolute other way.
I like, well, the way that they did it this year was, like, just exactly how they did it in years past with the exits.
Mm-hmm.
Where, well, From Dusk Till Dawn and Walking Dead exited at was like the same spot that they in 2011 some of all those houses exited at as well.
Interesting.
But then also like Dracula and AVP all exited in the same spot as well, or in a different spot like out of the back area, just like how they used to do it the exact same way.
Yeah. I think at this point we're gonna start like. I said something in the video about how I really wanted to see what they would do with Bayou of Blood and seeing if they could turn that into the first voodoo house, the first original voodoo house, because I know Universal's been dying to have one. I think it would work.
I want to see it, but I want to see it where that's going to be its own, because I think it's worthy of being its own icon.
And I think she's worthy of being an icon, for sure.
So I don't I know like a lot of people would like to see that this year. I don't want to see it this year. I want to give it a little time, give it a couple years, maybe let them, like I said, let them do like the big 3 icons, and then start implementing the new ones.
Possibly.
And let her have her own event.
I always, like I said, I told you, and I told John, and I told a lot of other people the idea I had with Chance being one of those. There's more than meets the eye to her, and she's the one that's been behind everything the whole time, and she kills Jax and takes her spot as the icon.
That's a big risky move.
It really is, but I really think it would bring in an interesting group of people that are not necessarily looking at the event.
Juggalos.
Yeah.
I'm just joking. I know. Aren't you a juggalo?
I used to be, yeah. I still listen to music occasionally.
I've never been an ICP fan.
I know a lot of people that are not, so I can understand. And I think it would...
It's like this own thing, though. ICP...
How do you do a Carnival of Carnage without Insane Clown Posse? That just blows my mind.
I don't know. I think there's other bands that you could bring in. You got to bring in somebody that's like, is Insane Clown Posse still like? Because they used to be super socially relevant. Like
totally.
Back in the day, they used to be. But there's got to be a younger artist that you could bring in that's got some mass appeal. That's like a freaky artist. Like there's only one band I can think of. This band, Motionless in White, but like even they don't have like this big, following.
Yeah.
Enough to the point where it's like people are gonna show up to the show every night.
But if you
that's why I think I just don't think music acts work in the event.
They don't, unless you want to actually make them perform music, and that's it.
Yeah. I mean, I always thought of the idea as like taking one of the big stages and having it set up as like you bring in an artist for like the week and they play like a set, like one set every night, and you have it as an upcharge to let them go in there and see it for like the hour or two that it is. But that's like a whole nother. But then like all you do, they got the hard rock right there, and it's
yeah, logistics doesn't make that really work well.
It doesn't work well.
But I mean, like I always thought that when I was growing to look at all the knowledge about the event from the previous years, I saw Carnival of Carnage and I was like, why is Insane Clown Posse not a part of this? Back when that event would have happened, back when it did happen, ICP were still relevant, and I think it would have worked.
It's just bringing them in and not having to, you have to deal with people then. You have to pay
Yeah, no, I
management and all
understand.
stuff like. But they had like 3 shows that year, I think.
Yeah, there'd be a lot of really angry people if ICP came to the event, and I can understand that. But it'd bring in a lot.
Yeah, they're not controllable.
No, I agree with that. Not
yeah.
all of them. Some of them are. Some of them are, but not all of them. But I
Isn't Vanilla Ice on their label now?
Yeah, he's been on Psychopathic for a while now.
But yeah, the one house that I really want to see them do like an original is an ancient Egypt, like not mummy, but like ancient Egypt, like the ancient gods and stuff like that. Like a house like that. That's what I really want to see, like Anubis and all those people like that, and, like Iris or whatever. Like that'd be really. I think it'd be cool. I would like walk in, you see like the two like what are the dog people, the guys with the dog heads, like like that.
Yeah.
Front, like the pillars. I think that'd be really cool. The Egyptian answer to Gothic.
That would be cool. I always think that magic is something that fits the event, that they don't really know exactly how to use it the right way.
It's kind of like the paranormal. It's a catch-22, like how you do it properly.
I want an icon that's a magician, but he's not he's a magician that has actual magical powers, but he's also a stage magician. And basically his gimmick is he kind of kills people on stage, and they think it's part of the show, but it's not.
But the thing is, like, I like that idea a lot. I think that starts running the gambit, though, where you're mixing now, like, Jack and the Caretaker to an extent.
Kind of.
You're starting to now start, like, mixing the characters. I think that's part of the reason why the Usher isn't as successful.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe, Deadly Fear or any of those guys would disagree, but he's kind of similar to the director in a lot of ways, if you think about it. There's similar-esque characters, but obviously one's way more popular than the other one.
I don't think the Usher really got a good fair shake, though.
He did not get a good fair shake.
And I know a lot of people don't like Fear, or they don't like Lady Luck, and
they were the demise of icons in our event. So
yeah,
that's fully on them. They were underdeveloped and underused. So
true.
All right. Well, I'm gonna end the live stream because I've got to go to the bathroom. But
all right,
for everybody that did watch this, I hope you enjoyed it. I know we went off in tangents a little bit, but
sorry.
I had fun, and I hope you had fun too, Owen.
Indeed, as always.
I think we'll do this again. Hopefully, we'll try to maybe get another couple. Maybe get some new people.
Sounds good.
Get me, you, and John, and maybe get Vic or Neil to come in and do it, and maybe someone new.
HHN fan 16.
Yeah. Oh, 100 Hollywood guy, right?
Yes.
Absolutely. Well, I'd be more than happy to bring him in if you want to talk to him.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys later. Bye.
Later, everyone.